Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Today we've got another video for you filmed at Battleship Cove in Fall River, Massachusetts. The folks at Battleship Cove invited the C&E department for Battleship New Jersey to come up and look at their fleet. And while we're here, we're shooting some videos. So I'm here with Josh, who has been a volunteer at Battleship Cove for 3 years and is their resident expert on the East German Corvette Hiddensee. So, where was Hiddensee built?
So Hiddensee was actually built at the Hiddensee shipyard in Leningrad, Russia in the year 1984.
1984. So, right around the same time that Battleship New Jersey is brought back to active service. And by that point, Battleship Cove already existed, right?
Yes.
So some of the museum ships were already here. She was built in Leningrad, Russia, and then sold to East Germany?
Yes, so that was still when the Berlin Wall was up, so East Germany actually was still a part of Russia to an extent. So the ship was actually part of the Navy there to help protect the coast.
Excellent. You're getting into what type of ship this is and what her main job was.
So this ship was considered a missile corvette, and her main purpose was to stay within about 12 miles of the coast and defend for any incoming ships that were coming in. Its max time it was able to go out actually to sea was roughly 12 to 13 days, mainly because of food rations on board and not having any further amount for the crew.
How big did you say the crew was?
The crew was roughly 42 people, though that did change a little bit here and there during the time of the fall of the Berlin Wall, but it was fairly strong.
Good segue there into the fall of the Berlin Wall. What happened to this ship after East Germany ceased to exist?
So right around the fall of the Berlin Wall, right around the year 1990, the ship was transferred over to West Germany during the reunification. And at that point, after about a year of service with the West German Navy, it then was transferred to the United States for.
And she actually saw service in the U.S. Navy?
Yes, so she served roughly 52 missions, as they called it. It was more of a T&E style. It was made a lot for research of the Russian technologies and the ability of the ship as a enemy combatant to the United States or any of our allies.
Interesting. And that would be very valuable to the U.S. because ships like this are very common around the world in countries where the U.S. tries to act as a police force.
Yes, to your point, this ship is actually used for similar classes in roughly 13 countries today, so it's actually very relevant still.
And at what point did the U.S. Navy get rid of her?
So the U.S. Navy got rid of her in 1997 when it came here to Battleship Cove, and it's now being used as an experience for the public to see what the prior to Berlin Wall and East Germany ships and military history is like.
And she's been with Battleship Cove for how long?
Since 1997, so
1997.
Almost 25 years.
So how heavy was a ship like this?
So this ship was roughly 500 gross tons, just under, right around 482.
Pretty small vessel. And what's the firepower of a ship this small?
So this ship has a complement of 4 missiles, P-21s and P-22s, or also known as sticks. It also had this AK-176 here, 2 AK-630s out back, 2 chaff launchers, or PK-16s, and a Strela 14 anti-aircraft launcher. This mount right here, the AK-176, it gets its name from the AK being automatic, one because it's one barrel and it's 76 millimeter.
Josh, thank you very much for your time here, and we're going to go inside the ship and see how it's different from American vessels. This base is often said to be comparable to the Combat Information Center on American vessels. Really, it's used more like a main battery plotting room. These consoles here are for fire control for the ship's guns. There's a AK-176 at the bow, which is a 3-inch gun, and there are the 2 CIWS mounts, the AK-630s, on the fantail, and they're controlled from here. Here you've got your 630s, and tracking information, and then here you've got the radar information for your main battery gun, and a camera so you can see what your gun sees when you're controlling it. Much like for American medium caliber guns, you've got a foot pedal to fire it. The NATO phonetic name plank shave is given to the fire control radars typical on these types of Corvettes, and this is where that console is. While American ships of this period are starting to transition very heavily into digital computing, ships like Hiddensee still have extremely complex analog systems. This system has a lot of the same idea of gearing behind it as the fire control computers that the Iowas were still using in the 80s and 90s. This is the bridge of Hiddensee. Your surface search radar set is controlled from here. It feeds into repeaters like this one, used for navigating the ship. The commanding officer's chair is right here. And the helmsman has a slightly less nice chair here. Everything in here looks different, but it's got all the same components as the Battleship. You've got a helm wheel for steering the ship, or if you don't like a traditional wheel, you can drive this thing like a tank by moving the rudder using these instead of the wheel. There's a rudder angle indicator for you, just like on the Battleship. You've got throttles here, which are this type of vessel's equivalent of an engine order telegraph. And above the wheel, you've got your gyro compass repeater for navigation. A very similar setup in very similar locations to the Battleship. Understandably, very foreign looking. Corvettes like Hiddensee are designed to be extremely fast. She's officially rated at 42 knots, but in American hands, they were able to get her up to 52 knots. So there might be some Cold War era misinformation about the exact speed of these vessels going on. She attains that high speed from a massive engineering plant. These vessels have 4 gas turbines and then 3 diesel generators, like this one. The diesels are creating electrical power for the vessels. The gas turbines, like this one, are paired up, so there's 2 turbines feeding each propeller shaft. There are 2 propellers. Behind me is aft, and this direction is forward. So everything you're seeing here actually seems to be set up in reverse. In engine room number 1, forward of us, all this equipment is rotated in the other direction. So here's air intake going in, combustion and turbine stuff happening here, and exhaust going out over here. So how does this thing work if all of the propulsion is coming out forward? This right here is our reduction box, and it is a Z drive reduction box, so very, very different from what the Battleship has. The turbine in the forward engine room comes into it straight. This turbine comes into it backwards, and they're both giving propulsive power. The propeller shaft comes out the bottom backwards, and the gearing in there means that all of that rotation is translated in the right direction into the propeller shaft to turn into propulsion in the forward direction. This is the barbette for the AK-176. The magazine is below us, and this is where the ammunition is actually loaded into a conveyor belt system, which then feeds up into the gun. It's got 2 sides, so you can load 2 different types of projectiles and switch between them if needed. And beneath, there's a big open space, which is where the spent shell casings get dropped. This weapon system has a rate of fire as high as 120 rounds per minute, but once you've emptied the magazine here, one, the barrel's got to cool down after that, and then two, you've got to put new ammo in. So it takes about 30 minutes after you've done something with that high rate of fire. The shells are on a conveyor belt, which is taking them to the mount. The AK-176 is a 76 millimeter or 3-inch gun, and it's a dual-purpose weapon system, so it can be used for other vessels, land targets, or against aircraft, or potentially against incoming missiles, although it's not going to have much luck against a high-speed missile. It might make the crew who is berthing in this space around the barbette feel better for a short period of time. Here's the above deck portion of the AK-630. And you can see there are two back here. Thank you guys for watching. If you would like to support the restoration efforts here at Battleship Cove, we've got a link in the description to their website, so you can sign up as a volunteer. And also, if you would like to donate money, if you don't live nearby, and the way you can support them is by donating, there's a link down there. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, and also from viewers like you. We try to release several new pieces of content every week, including now trips to other museum ships. So if you want to see stuff like this and get notified when we're putting out new stuff, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.